There are many of you who have traveled long distances to be here with us today. Shruti flew from London, 5,254 miles to be here. And Jack came all the way from Singapore, 8,596 miles. And I know that for Doris Swanson, Brian's mother, it took her over 53 years to get here. So that's a long trip.
Brian, he's very, got great judgment. And the evidence of that, he makes great decisions, John and Doris, because he chose to marry my daughter. That's evidence.
I'd like to tell you how I met Kendra. We were in college together in Chicago for a couple of years, but we didn't actually know each other. And we met on a travel abroad program in Greece. And my first memory of her is combing the beach for shells. And as we became friends, dreaming about the future, a day like this. To me, Kendra is a practical dreamer. So here we all are, living her dream on the mountaintop.
When did I fall in love with Kendra? I would have to say that would be the first time that I met her. Probably the same as you. Through 1,000 small moments, I've become acquainted with her generosity of spirit. For example, I remember working with her on a shoot all night, one night in Las Vegas for the Nevada Ballet Theater. And I've got a bad back, and she rented me a wheelchair. And over the years, she's heard me say some pretty stupid things, and she still treats me with that same grace and kindness that she did when she first met me. I know that many of you love Kendra. You know her heart, and you know that Kendra is a blessing to those of us who are lucky enough to have crossed paths with her.
Kendra, let me begin by saying I love you. I can't tell you how much our friendship has meant to me. Kendra and Brian, the bond between you two is absolutely amazing, and I saw that today. And as our friend Jeff would say, it was absolutely epic. So as you begin your life journey as Mr. and Mrs. Swanson, through personal experience, remember to never lose yourself, okay? Either one of you.
Tonight, I just want to make sure that Kendra realizes that, you know, she's this amazing woman. She's talented, she's creative, she's independent, she's caring, she's compassionate. And then the miracle happens. She meets Brian, who's caring and compassionate and creative. And they are on this amazing journey. I call it a journey of love. And I know that they feel this amazing love from everybody in this room.
In your smoky blue eyes, I know I am home. In your passion, my world has fire. In your beauty, I am swept away. In this dance, I am your partner. In your tears, I am your shoulder. In your happiness, I am lifted with you. In your lips, I am your smooch. In your dreams, I am your promise. In your wisdom, my comfort is stayed. In your heart, I am your love. You're embossed in my heart, and you will always own it. This is my vow to you, my equal in all things in our lifetime. You restored my life. I am yours forever.
My name is John Swanson. I'm Brian's older brother. For some reason, they're calling me the best man. But really, on this day, the best man is sitting right here.
I know the real reason I'm here, and that's because I've been a friend of Brian's throughout my life. Sorry. Thank you. I know Brian inside and out, and in fact, one summer we lived in a tent together. I would just say that if you live in a tent with someone for a summer, in the end you'll either love them or hate them. And I came to love Brian. One thing I know about Brian, he's a good man, and I can vouch for him.
As young lads growing up in the small desert community of Ridgecrest, California, we had a fenced-in yard, and we spent a lot of time playing in that yard together. We played baseball. Kind of tough to do with two people. Well, that kind of got boring, so we picked up the game of football. Me being somewhat larger than my brother, we kind of said, hey, you know, they do this thing called fair catch, right? And you signal that you are catching the football, and then you don't get creamed. Brian really liked this idea, okay? And he came up with some really crazy ways to signal fair catch. Now, Brian,
Brian has brought us much joy and pride into our lives, sharing his many talents and gifts to us as well as to others. Brian and Kendra complement each other as well, and Kendra brings her gifts and talents and shares them as well too.
Brian and Kendra have been together for a good length of time, and I won't say that he drug his heels, but you know, Doris and I just dearly love Kendra. It's a pleasure for us to welcome Kendra to our family.
Stay forever, stay.
Now listen to this. I read one time a letter that John Adams wrote to his daughter. I researched and found that letter because when I read it, it was several years ago, that I thought about Kendra. Daughter, get you an honest man.
Hi.
And keep him honest. No matter whether he is rich, regard the honor and the moral character of the man more than all other circumstances. Think of no other greatness but that of the soul, no other riches but that of the heart. And that's how I feel about Brian.
so about 30 years ago, I got married. And my brother and I made this pact that I would be his best man when he got married. 30 years went by and I despaired of ever being able to stand up in front of anybody and say anything about my brother. My brother feeling vertical envelopment and falling to the ground. Kendra rushing to his aid. So Kendra has been Swanson tested, approved, good to go. Weeks ago, my brother calls me and goes, "Did you tell me the words Kukul Klanga?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "I don't know. I just woke up from this dream. I thought you told me Kukul Klanga." Brian, I've consulted with the learned scholars at Shaller's Pub on Halstead Street in Chicago, and they told me that Kukul Klanga is an old Gaelic phrase for fair catch. Okay? So my brother had this dream, it came true. And now I would like everybody to stand and in your own way signal fair catch and repeat after me. Kukul Klanga. Fair catch, Brian.
Brian and Kendra, I now declare you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. When I visited with Brian and Kendra before the ceremony, I asked them why they wanted to get married. And they both told me the same story. I don't know if you knew this, but Brian is not very good with ladders. So one day he was in his studio hanging his art for his art show, and he fell off the ladder and injured himself very seriously, in fact to the point where he couldn't even call for help for a period of time. And he was all alone. When he finally did get to the hospital, new complications arose that became life-threatening. And Brian told me that as he was in the hospital, laying in his hospital bed, he looked over and he saw Kendra sleeping on the floor. And he told me that as he saw her, that he knew calling Kendra his girlfriend just didn't cut it. When I asked Kendra, she told me the same story. She told me of how when Brian's situation became so serious, only having the rights and privileges of being his girlfriend didn't cover. He meant so much more to her than boyfriend implied. And so, we find ourselves here today. Brian and Kendra, ready to enter into a lifelong commitment with all the rights, benefits, and responsibilities.
Kendra, do you remember when I walked into that emergency room and I saw Brian in the hospital, with tubes and pale and in pain, and I broke out crying when I saw him, uncontrollably. And Kendra had never seen that, but she's quick and smart, and she guided me out and she tried to settle me down. Well, Kendra, I was terrified and frightened for Brian, but Kendra, I was terrified and frightened for you, and I never said that because I knew you loved him so much.
I love you for looking deep into my heart and gently passing over all the foolish things, and for drawing out the beautiful parts that no one else dared look far enough to find. I love you for loving me when I'm unlikable, for cherishing the small child within me, and for challenging the grown-up. I love you for all the adventures we've shared and all the adventures left to come. I love you because every single day, at some ordinary moment, I feel an overwhelming joy inside my soul because I feel blessed to have met you, blessed that you chose me, and blessed that you are here with me at that moment. But saying that I love you is not enough. I promise to show you my love. I am yours, you're mine, you're in my heart forever, for all the rest of my days.
What I wish for you is that happiness that you feel right now, that it continues unbroken forever. The friendship that you have with each other is continuous, unbroken, and forever. And the love that you have for each other, continuous, unbroken, and forever. To Brian and Kendra.